All right, we're rolling.
We're rolling.
We're doing our own thing.
So this is 10 Toes In, guys. We're going to do our own podcast. The reason why is because there's a lot of people that are telling their stories, okay? We've already heard the stories. We want to do something a little different. We're going to allow them to start off by telling their story. But once they're done with that, we're not going to get in depth like everybody else because we already heard them. What we want to know is how was like prison, what they learned, or are they successful? We're going to bring in a lot of people that are very successful afterwards. To show people just because you go to prison doesn't mean your life's over with. There's a lot of guys like Kyle and others that done really well, started companies, got successful, made millions of dollars. And I think a lot of people want to hear that. And then I'm going to tell you something. We're going to talk about the juicy juice,
The
all this
juicy
stuff.
juice. Let me ask you a question, Jason. Do you really care what happened when somebody went to middle school and high school? All these people, all these prison podcasters, they bring these guys in, they sit them down, they're like, let's start in the beginning. So you were born and went to kindergarten. I don't give a fuck about
I
kindergarten.
don't care about where any of that. The only thing I really care about is where they came from. Like, where you're born, if you're from another country or something like that. But to know your upbringing is not really interesting. I want to know how you got started in the game, what your game's about. But I'm going to tell you one thing that I want to know. Something
What do you
that,
want to know?
oh man, I want to hear the hookers, the money, the cars, the bitches. I want to hear the juicy shit. I want to hear about some of the wildest stories, crazy nights. People want to hear that. And that's what people love to sit around and listen to my stories is about some of the wildest drug runs, some of the nights in like Colombia hitting whorehouses and everything else.
I don't want to hear about, oh, I don't know where everything went wrong. You know when the fuck it went wrong. You know what you did when what went wrong, and it went wrong, and then you went off the rails. Well, just like you said, talk about what like for me, people want to know. They never ask me, what did I do with all the money? They skip over the part, I bought 24 cars and 3 houses. Never want to hear about that. I was going back and forth from Alabama to Las Vegas to New York, doing all kinds of craziness.
Yeah, and that's the stuff that everybody wants to hear. So, like, where did my money go? Huh, $10,000, $15,000 nights in strip clubs, trips to Colombia, massage parlors. You know what I'm talking about. But the thing is, cars, women, nights out, wild, crazy scenes. I want to hear about all that. I'm going to ask the questions that other people not. This is going to be more of a podcast conversation, not you just sitting there letting them tell their story. Everybody's already heard them. All these people have already interviewed everybody. We're going to bring them back in and talk about the cool stuff, the stuff that people want to hear. Like, they talked about how much money they made, but we want to talk about what they do with it. What's some of the wildest stories? What was the excitement? I tell people all the time, my fix was the rush, knowing that you pulled it off, the amount of money, what you got to do, the attention. That's the stuff that I want to ask. And that's the stuff that we're going to get to the bottom of. And then we're going to bring people on also that have very high success stories of what they did and how they were successful afterwards. Another thing I want people to talk about is how they got involved, what manipulated them to do it. Like my story. I was young and I always heard about all these drug smuggling stories and looked up to it. So one of the things that I was led into, Kyle, and you probably heard the same thing. Oh, first time you get in trouble, you're going to get how much time?
5 years.
5 years. Oh,
Five
man.
years
5 years. That's what it is. Sorry, I was looking at life. Life, first go
from
around,
the
Kyle.
beginning.
Yes, right off the rip.
Don't forget that we're also going to talk about snitches, like people that say that they have good paper, people that have come up and talked about that they've been to prison and they're so hard, and then you peel back the onion, and yeah, they told, or they have some very suspicious things
Oh,
in
yeah.
their docket sheet.
So we're going to get into that also. So there's going to be times that we don't have no guest on that we're going to talk about like rappers and these gangsters. One of the things that the youth and all these kids, they call it gangster rap. And the reason why they're doing the things they're doing is because they're living up to this. Well, I lived up to all the drug smuggling stories. But guess what? Nobody told me why they only got 5 years, 10 years. Because back then, the laws were different. So you didn't get much time. And then when they did change the laws that where they were looking at 30 years for it, back in what, 86 it changed?
86.
86. So after that, the reason why they got 10 years or less is why, Kyle?
Because they told.
And they don't want to tell nobody that. So all the youth and people like me were like, oh shit, he only got that much time and he got caught with 2,000 kilos or whatever amount of kilos in a conspiracy. So we're going to dive deep into that and educate people. The only reason why these people are getting this amount of time because they cooperated. We're going to start with what? Rappers, gangsters.
rappers. People want to talk about Big Meech. People want to talk about NBA, Young Boy. We can do that kind of stuff.
So we're going to break it down, and on each one of them and our links, we're going to put stuff off of Pacer, whatever we can find to back it up and explain and understand. And even if we don't have that access because it's sealed, we're going to start showing on there and backing it up with, if you get caught with, you have a prior drug charge and you get caught with another drug, how much time do you get on your second one?
15 years.
I thought it was 20, 851.
Oh, 850, no, 10 years and then 20 years.
Yes. So people got to understand, only way to get under that is if you cooperate. You know, a lot of people want to hear the other side of the story. Okay. So we're going to dive deep into all this stuff and we're going to get into it. There's a lot of things that we're going to do differently. It might work, might not, but guess what? We're going to bring it out. Listen, we don't go 10 toes in, son, baby. We're doing all the way or nothing. That's why it's called 10 toes in.
A real true crime podcast from real true criminals.
Yeah, dude. So let me explain something to you guys. I'm the drug dealer. Watch out, it might get you addicted.
I'm the scammer. Watch your wallet.
I got all my cards in it still. Don't trust anything he says or does, baby, because I promise you, he's going to take that ass when he gets a chance.
Alrighty then.
Hey, so another thing I want to dive into too is to talk about when we get these people on is their love life. You know, did their girl ride with them? The story, how that works. Did they stay? Did they not? Did they tell them to leave? So there's so many different avenues that we're going to go about doing this, which is going to make it really great because a lot of people want to hear the story. Did their woman stick with them? How long did it take for them to leave? These are the things that we're going to touch on. Like I said, we're going to be totally different than everybody else. This is not going to be where I've gone on all these other podcasts where they allow me to talk and tell my whole story and they ask a few questions to dig in. I go in the comments and they're like, man, Johnny this or Matt this, interrupting, you know, the person telling the story. This is not going to be story time of their whole life. This is going to be story time of what the narrative, what we're going to go with and how we're going to go about doing it. It's going to be more of a podcast like you see on Joe Rogan's or something like that, where we're going to control the narrative. We're going to control the questions. What do you think?
We'll let them talk, but yeah, we're going to control the narrative. We're going to control the questions. We're going to ask some of the harder questions that other people don't ask. And again, it's not going to be, hey, let me hear about your father and your mother and your sister and your brother. Let's hear about what really happened. Nobody cares about all that other stuff.
No. I mean, they do. Don't get me wrong. But I'll be honest with you. I'm surprised a lot of people follow through all the way to the end. And a lot of stuff that I hear in the comments is where people are actually talking, Kyle, where they're like, man, this is the first time I watched a 2-hour podcast of mine. Because I think a lot of people... or, you know, when you start off weak, we want to come in swinging. That's the thing about it. I'm going to ask the crazy questions. I have a crazy mouth. So, I mean, we're going to ask the dirty, crazy stuff. I don't know about Kyle, but why did I watch the movie? Or why is Wolf of Wall Street the best? Nobody watches because of the crime.
Nobody cares about the fraud.
Nobody cares about the fraud. It's about the craziness, the hookers, the money, the bitches. So, we're going to put this podcast on that level. This is going to be more of the Wolf of Wall Street theme.
I want to hear it all.
Yeah, I do too.
So it's 10 Toes Podcast at #1 at 10toespodcast.com and at 10 Toes Podcast on TikTok and Instagram.